Can LA landlords finally evict? This guide for LA renters and LA landlords will run through the latest report from the LA City Housing Department, where they give their recommendations on what should happen to the LA City Eviction Moratorium. There is a hint in the report at a real end to the LA City Eviction Moratorium. And stick around to the end where we run through two proposals for further review, including one where a landlord won't be able to evict for non-payment of rent. Hey there. Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We have been helping renters and landlords make sense out of the eviction moratoria and more. And we are here with a big update on the LA City Eviction Moratorium. First off, LA City and LA County still have an eviction moratorium in place. They are currently both running. LA County, we've done content on that. They have multiple phases to their eviction moratorium. LA City doesn't have phases and has just extended it without an end date in sight. The LA City Council on June 24th, 2022 meeting asked the Los Angeles Housing Department to provide a report to explain certain things, including a possible end to the eviction moratorium. And that's what we're going to run through. It was just delivered, and the LAHD is giving its recommendations for what should happen to the Los Angeles City Eviction Moratorium. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. So if you're ready to dive into the LA City Council requested LAHD report, hit that like button and let's get started. So let's dive in and we're going to look at the proposed changes. They have not yet been approved, but this is what's in the report, and we're going to dive deep here. So make sure you rewind if you need to look at any of these sections again. And of course, download the report so you can read it yourself. The first box is what's currently allowed under the eviction moratorium in LA City. The next box, the current notice timeline box, is what will happen essentially once the eviction moratorium is over, how that eviction would happen. It's a little vague what they mean there, but that's what that means. Once the moratorium is over, how that eviction or action would happen. The next is what the LA County provision is under their eviction moratorium. And the last column is the recommended city amendment, the change to the current eviction moratorium to get it in line with this recommendation. Let's run through the Los Angeles Housing Department's recommendations. We'll first start with the type of eviction related to a government order. The first few we'll go through are no fault. So this is a no fault eviction, and whose fault do we mean? We mean the tenant's fault. The tenant didn't do anything wrong, but there's a government order, and the most common example of this would be a unit that was illegally rented to a tenant. For example, a garage or unapproved bootleg unit. Under the LA City Eviction Moratorium, as it says in the currently allowed column, there's nothing that can be done. The landlord has no legal way to get that tenant out, even though a court has ordered them to get them out. Once the eviction moratorium is over, it'll be a 30, 60, 90-day notice, depending on how long the tenant has been there. The county, though, under their LA County eviction moratorium, is allowing an exception that a tenancy can be terminated if there's a government order. So the recommendation is to get it more in line with the LA County eviction moratorium. That's what the last box is saying. So that if there's a government order to get a tenant out because it's an illegal unit, a landlord is able to get the tenant out. Next one is owner occupancy. Again, no fault. It's not the tenant's fault. The owner wants to move in. There are strict guidelines for this in LA County. LA City says, nope, you can't do it. So under the LA City eviction moratorium, there is no owner occupancy, no owner move-in provision. When it's over, it'll be a 30, 60, 90-day notice, depending on how long the tenant has been there. In LA County, as I mentioned, there's strict guidelines, and I've done a video on this, that a landlord can have their owner move in now that we're in phase 2 of the LA County eviction moratorium. Well, LA City says, nope, we don't want to change it. We are going to keep it through the end of the eviction moratorium. And then on January 1st, 2023, they'll go to the 30, 60, 90-day notice. Plus, there will be relocation assistance for the rent stabilized ordinance properties. So that is one difference between the LA City and LA County eviction moratorium that will remain. In LA County, a landlord can go ahead and do owner move in if they follow the guidelines. LA City, they won't be able to start the notice until after January 1st, 2023, based on this recommendation. Another no fault reason, and that's a resident manager to move in. So right now in LA City, a tenant cannot be asked to move so that a resident manager can move in. When the eviction moratorium is over, it'll again be 30, 60, 90-day notice. In LA County, this remains one of the categories that a tenancy cannot be terminated through December 31st, 2022. The recommendation from LAHD is that only the installation of a manager that's required by affordable housing regulations or state law, and state law says if there's 16 units or more, there must be an on-site manager. Those are the regulations that they are recommending so that an on-site manager can move in under the LA City eviction moratorium. The last big no-fault reason to terminate a tenancy is to remove it from the rental market. The Ellis Act is what refers to this. Right now, that can't happen in LA City under the LA City eviction moratorium. Once the moratorium were to expire, then residents have to be given 120-day notice up to a year in certain cases. They won't be able to start until 60 days after the emergency eviction moratorium ends. So it'll be 60 days and then 120 days. LA County is not allowing any Ellis Act evictions right now because of the LA County eviction moratorium. LA City's recommendation is a slight change, even though they say no change. The landlord would be able to file January 1st of 2023, and it will be a minimum of 120 days. They're not going to have to wait 60 days after January 1st. They can go ahead and drop that notice on January 1st, 2023, if adopted. And now we're moving into at-fault reasons to terminate a tenancy, and by at-fault, we mean the tenant's fault. So under the current LA City eviction moratorium, if a tenant has brought in pets or additional tenants, they cannot be evicted for those reasons. Once the LA City eviction moratorium ends, it will require a 3-day notice to cure or quit, and then if the extra tenants aren't out or the pets aren't out, then it would move forward with the unlawful detainer. In LA County, those protections remain in place for pets and additional tenants only if COVID related through the end of phase 2, which is December 31st, 2022. What LAHD is recommending is to bring it in conformance with the LA County eviction moratorium and have it end December 31st, 2022. Next big category of at-fault reasons to terminate a tenancy would be related to violations not due to COVID. So for example, criminal activity, gangs, etc. They give a few examples here. There is currently no prohibition under LA City or LA County eviction moratorium that protects tenants in these cases. So it's currently allowed, so there's no change recommended there, but it's an important distinction. Some landlords think they can evict for any reason whatsoever, but there are specific at-fault violation reasons where a landlord can evict in LA City and LA County. And two more at-fault reasons to terminate a tenancy related to non-payment of rent. So this would specifically be non-payment of back rent accrued during the eviction moratorium. So right now under LA City, they have 12 months after the expiration of the emergency eviction moratorium or August 1st, 2023, whichever comes first, to pay the rent back that was due through September 30th, 2021. It's going to be handled differently, the rent that was due 10/1/2021 and later, and we'll get into that in a moment. LA County has a slight difference in that it's only tenants who are at 80% of area median income or less and self-certified to this. They have 12 months to repay rent that's due from August 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. The LAHD recommendations essentially fall in line with state law, which says rent that was due before September 30th, 2021 must be paid by August 1st, 2023. Any rent between August 1st, 2021 and December 31st, 2022 must be paid by December 31st, 2023. So that separates how the rent is handled depending on when it was due. It's also giving us a hint, if you haven't picked it up, that essentially LA City is extending the eviction moratorium they have through December 31st, 2022. That's the hint we're getting in some of these dates on here. The last category is rent that's due after the eviction moratorium is over. LA City says evictions can happen immediately after the emergency moratorium ends. You must go through the 3-day pay or quit noticing process and then follow the unlawful detainer process. That's what happens once it ends, which would be January 1st, 2023, according to these hints in here. LA County has protections for those at 80% area median income or lower. They then have until December 31st, 2023 to pay those off. It's a little vague here because LA County is actually potentially going to have a phase 3. So there's a chance that evictions won't be able to start immediately if tenants are missing rent after phase 2 ends for LA County, which is December 31st, 2022. I hope that makes sense. There's a lot of different layers to this, like I said. And what LA City is recommending is going to extend the protections through December 31st, 2022. So they're coming out and saying right there, that's potentially the deadline. And then tenants will have to self-attest that COVID impacted their ability to pay rent. They will have until December 31st, 2023 to pay back any rent that was accumulated from October 1st through December 31st. Tenants who do not self-attest can be evicted for failure to pay rent that was due after November 1st, 2022. But what they leave vague in here is what happens on January 1st, 2023 for tenants who miss rent. This last column, and hopefully you can see that, is vague. It doesn't answer what's going to happen. It probably will fall in line with whatever LA County does for their potential phase 3. Phew, made it through all that. I hope you're still awake. 2 more quick things to share with you that are worth knowing as a landlord in LA or as a renter in LA. These are issues for further review, and there's going to be a report later on. Number 1 is relocation assistance for economic displacement. As we've talked about in other content, for example, when the owner is going to move in, there's money that must be paid to the tenant for relocation assistance. It can be up to $23,000 currently in LA. Well, what this is certain properties are exempt from the statewide rent control increases. These properties are exempt from AB 1482. An example would be a single family home, or another example would be a building that is 15 years or newer. What this says here in this paragraph, if rents are increased to such a point, over 10%, for example, in these buildings, and tenants are forced to move out because of the increase, they must be given relocation assistance for being displaced. This is called economic displacement. This is an interesting change. It says that some cities have enacted it, and this would further be enacted in the city of Los Angeles, so we'll have to see how this plays out. And the next proposal for future review that we're going to have to research more is limitations on evictions for failure to pay rent. What this says is that landlords will not be able to move through the unlawful detainer process, will not be able to evict unless a tenant owes a certain amount in back rent. They use the example of District of Columbia, which currently says evictions are barred if a tenant owes less than $600. The dollar amount they use in here is the dollar amount of $10,000, which is a small claims court limitation. What the landlord can do is take their tenant to small claims, but they would not be able to evict them for the back rent as long as it's $10,000 or less. For example, a tenant who pays $2,500 a month, they'd be able to get behind 4 months. To recover that 4 months, the landlord would have to take them to small claims court. So this is an interesting one as well. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this limitation on eviction for non-payment of rent. Let us know your questions in comments below. We want to hear from landlords and renters how they feel about the end of the LA City Eviction Moratorium. Make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter. Join almost 2,500 others so that you know the latest and greatest for the LA City Eviction Moratorium, housing market updates, and a whole lot more. You don't want to miss this next video for landlords and renters in California. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we want to hear from you.